Shalom, shalom. Welcome again to Taking a Deeper Look. We're at Chasers of the Way. We have another episode for you today or tonight. Hopefully, it will be edifying and educational. How you doing, Elder Yehokana?
I'm chilling, my brother. Chilling. Eager to see where this goes tonight.
Yeah, I want to try to keep it to about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, hopefully, have a nice dialogue and please, we're looking for those in the chat to uh, be. We look forward to your input. And I'm going to put the link in the chat just in case someone wants to come up and add something. I'm going to put the link, excuse me, in the chat. And if you'd like to come up, please hit that link.
Mm-hmm. That being said, Shabbat Shalom, Israel. You
Shabbat Shalom.
another Sabbath. Oh, praise to the
Thank
Most.
the Most High for another Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
He is good,
He is.
and His mercy does endure forever. I hope everyone had a wonderful week. How was your week, Benya?
You know what? I've had some. You know my situation and stuff.
Right.
But I've had some moments. But I received a great pep talk from my wife. She's been
Okay.
more than encouraging and a blessing. So, with that being said, despite the situation, the Most High is faithful.
Absolutely.
He's faithful, and so yeah. How about you, my
Absolutely.
brother?
It's been a very interesting week.
Mm.
Um, it's been good. Um, as always, it can always be better,
Hmm.
but nevertheless, He is good and He is faithful
Yes,
and
sir.
He is mercy, and I am better than I deserve.
Mm.
So
Amen.
that I am grateful.
Mm.
Rough, long, draining week.
Sister Tasha,
Thankful for the Sabbath.
hey
Yes,
to the man.
yes,
Yes. And sometimes we got to be honest.
absolutely. That's all we want to do, man. To be honest.
Blessed and
Absolutely.
highly favored.
Right, right.
I'm not
Tearing
going.
up on the inside,
Hey, I'm not going. I'm not going to
struggling on the
say what
inside.
it is.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes we just got to
This
be transparent.
absolutely. How can you get help? How can you be helped
Right. Yeah.
if someone asking you how you doing, you tell them highly favored, but yet you tearing up on the inside?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man,
Doesn't make you less faithful. Doesn't make the Most High any less. Things happen.
that's it.
Climate change happens to us all.
Absolutely. We live in that place called life.
Yeah.
So again, we thank the Most High for today. He says where two or three are gathered, He is there
Mm-hmm.
in the midst. So we appreciate each and every one of you.
Yes.
Again, we cannot do this without you.
Mm-mm.
So we do thank the Most High. Absolutely, sis. This
Mm-hmm.
too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So again, we appreciate you all. We couldn't do this without you,
Mm-hmm.
and we look forward to having a good dialogue. For those of you that are able to make it on tomorrow's day class, we would definitely love to have you come to our day class. So, again, this is the Shabbat. This is a day that the Most High has set aside for the children of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
that we are to cease from our labor, from our work, from our burden, and we are to congregate and we are to fellowship and we are to speak of the goodness of the Almighty. So,
Yes.
tonight's class, we want to talk about uh, the war on food
Mm.
or the food industry. And basically, where we're coming from, one day I was at work and I was thinking, I was eating some grapes and the grapes were seedless. And it just, popped in my mind like,
Mm.
why would they take the time and the energy and the money to remove the seeds. So that kind of
Mm,
got me going down this deep rabbit hole. So we want to kind of talk about that tonight. I don't plan to be too long,
yeah.
but we do have about a 12-minute video. The video itself is in regards to Ozempic, or something that I guess that dietary pill, whatever, it helps you lose weight.
Yeah.
If you're
Uh,
taking that, please get off of that.
my doctor offered that to me. I said, if I can't do it
Yeah,
the old fashioned way, it's not going to be done.
exactly.
So,
But in the midst of talking about that, they kind of go into food.
mm,
So we can look at that again. It's about 12 minutes long, and so we'll look at that, and then obviously we'll comment about that. Then I have a couple of notes in regards to the plight of the food, and so we'll go into that. So again, as you come in, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. And again, we do appreciate you all. Um, Again, the link is in the chat. If you would like to come on stage, please hit that link and
hmm
we'll bring you up. With that being said, let me look for that. Actually, I don't want to do the video just yet. I want to read something. Let me go to my share tool. Uh,
mm, mm, mm.
Let me open that up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Please do share, my brother.
Yeah, let me hit that again. Let me widen this out a little. Really?
All right, DJ. My
I'm
man.
dealing with this. I forgot my other. Okay. I've got my other mouse, and this one is not good. Let me try to find something. Hopefully, you guys can see this. If you're watching on your television or your laptop, I can't make it any bigger, so I do apologize.
Nah, we can't. Well, no, from my end, let me see if I make my screen bigger.
Yeah, I can't. I can't make
Yeah.
it big on my side. But you can always go back to view this on YouTube. So hope if you're watching by television, can y'all see that? Please put a one in the chat. And I'm sorry, if we can be heard nice and clear, please put a 12 in the chat. If you can't see that, don't worry about it. I'm going to read it. But if you can see it on your laptop or your computer, please put a one. Okay, I do see 1 1. If we can be heard nice and clear, please put a 12 in
Mm-hmm.
the chat. Please put a 12 in the chat.
Sister Tasha said no.
Okay, Satoshi said it's too small.
We do that at 12, though. You can be heard. You know what? You just may have to read it. I know you're not trying to make it up. I could see, like, when I make my screen as big as I can make it,
uh,
I can see it a little. So there will be a witness. Okay, you just did something to make it larger.
Hopefully, you guys can see that.
Yeah, somebody put a 1 in the chat, and there's a 12 also. That's better.
Okay. I'm afraid to touch it again, so
Mm,
I think I'm gonna leave it right there.
yes, sir.
All right, so and I got this off of Google, so you can always just Google. Um, but I wanted to know there was a time in our history where it was a common thing for people to have gardens.
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up and my father having a garden, and he even raised little chickens in our backyard. And he would grow those chickens, and when they got a certain age, he would kill them. We would eat that. Um, I remember growing up and being visiting my grandparents. And my grandfather had a beautiful garden where it was, acres, and there were several families that had spots on this land. And I mean, he raised anything you could possibly think. And I remember being at age where I went into the basement and they had canned and they put stuff in jars of tomatoes and green beans, and they had all these things in mason jars. I mean, just shelves full. And that was a good time in life. I mean, when it wasn't summertime, my father he would just so happen to have a garden, and he would make me work in this garden during the summertime when my friends are at the park playing basketball or riding their bicycles and going bike riding. And he would not let me go bike riding. He would not let me go and play basketball with my friends. Um, but that was a time in America's history, and I'm sure probably around anywhere our people were scattered, I'm sure, where as a civilian, I'm not talking about living in the country, I'm talking about urban life. You had a garden. Um, so I looked up to see what happened. What happened to that era of time when folks had gardens?
Mm.
And so I Googled, and again, you can get this off of Google. It says the succession of gardening in America can be attributed to several factors. So the ceasing or the destruction of gardening, they say it was several factors. And I'll read those factors. It says industrialization, the rise of industrial agriculture, and the convenience of modern living led to a shift away from home gardening. Convenience, the availability of supermarkets, packaged foods, and the ease of modern living made it less practical to grow food at home. Crisis response. During times of crisis, such as world wars, gardening was a patriotic duty and a means to supplement food supplies. However, after the wars, this practice declined. Economic factors. The Great Depression and subsequent economic downturns also contributed to the decline of gardening, as families struggled to find resources for food and other necessities. These factors combined to create a significant shift in American gardening practices, with fewer people engaging in home gardening and fewer gardens being maintained. However, the legacy of gardening continues to influence modern gardening trends and community gardening efforts. So I find this very interesting. Again, I remember personally working in a garden and then visiting my grandfather, helping him in his garden and watching him work. Um, it says about industrialization. All of this is systemic from this perspective, and this is my bias,
I
and
don't
this
think
is
it's gonna
my
be biased.
oh,
I don't
and
think
just
so.
what you say.
I said I don't think it's gonna be biased.
Oh,
I'm wait for your answer, but I have a hard time believing it's gonna be biased.
oh, and again, this is my perspective and my opinion. I believe that the government know who the slaves were and are. I believe that.
Hmm.
And I believe that they were willing to hurt some of their own people to make sure that the slaves would be impacted.
Hmm.
I remember being in school where you had industrial workshops as a class where they
Hmm.
taught you how to measure wood and cut wood and just do things with your hands.
Yep.
I remember an era when the industrial circuit was a booming thing in America. A lot of our people would graduate and go to like Ford Motor. They will go to Cadillac. They'll go to uh, the steel mill and work there for years and retire with great pensions. I can
Hmm.
remember watching the older generation at that time driving in their Cadillacs, living in the nice areas of the town. Um, but over time, those things moved out the way. They began to remove those things from the school system.
Hmm.
And then they began to really push college and university. It says industrialization. It says the rise of industrial agriculture. The government made a great push to build a system where the farming industry would usurp family gardening.
Hmm.
It's not a coincidence that they put laws in place, remove, I will say the family that had their personal gardens, I'll call them the middleman. They will pass laws and funnel money to corporations to farm,
Hmm.
squeezing out the middleman, the family, and then when they have a monopoly on the farming industry, then begin to impact that.
Yeah.
Any comments on that, bro, before I get to this video?
It's something, and that's why I said I don't think it's biased what you said. I think it was all systemic because they want to centralize and maximize the capitalistic nature of the money. And
Mm-hmm.
so you got other people like your dad. Like I'm listening to what you're saying, even from jump, the beginning of your story, and as much like my dad was a hardworking man. He worked several jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
yet to your point, some of your childhood experiences I'm envious of because as much as your dad worked, we had these old school dads, just they
Mm-hmm.
just work, men. We call them men. Um, and then I'm looking at your experience with your granddad, and then I think about my granddad, like the one that I grew up with, Grandpa Evans, food ministry in Ohio, etc. One of the things that I envy about that is that, or I would say jealous. I'm not like I don't covet, but
Mm-hmm.
what I say is the beauty of what your grandfather and your father were showing and doing is the benefit of home ownership or owning land, because now we're discouraged from home ownership. We're content with renting because now we're in a position where we've been dependent upon them to do for us what we're capable of doing for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they there had to be a simple system or a way to implement that in order for them to be able to get us dependent upon them. So now there's a generation that comes forth, like our generation, we're less into agriculture, more into industry, more into technology, more into this, rather
Mm-hmm.
than actually getting our hands dirty, learning how to farm, learning how to live off the land, and less dependent and being less dependent upon a government that did not mean right by us and wants to exploit us.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense what I'm saying.
It does.
Yeah, so I thought what you were saying was awesome. It's beautiful. Now, those are values that I wish we would have stayed with.
Hmm.
But yeah, I yield right there.
Absolutely. In Ecclesiasticus, in Sirach, chapter 38, verses 4, it says, "The Most High has created medicines out
Mm.
of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them."
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand something, Israel. The adversary, the enemy, also reads the scripture as well.
Yes, sir.
And they, I'm speaking of the scientists, I'm speaking of those that are creating these franken foods that we are consuming on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
These devils read scripture as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come across Sirach chapter 38.
Mm-hmm.
They've looked at these foods under a microscope, and they've run test trials to find out what these foods, how these foods impact our systems.
Mm-hmm.
We all come from the dirt. So there are elements, there are things that we need. And then the Most High says that I've created the medicines from the ground,
Mm-hmm.
because you and I also come from the ground. So our bodies, by the nature of it being dirt, iron, magnesium, manganese, whatever mineral you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Zinc.
Also, the food, what'd you say?
Zinc.
Zinc,
Mm-hmm.
vitamin, D,
Name it.
B, whatever. We
Okay.
we know we know some of those.
Yeah.
So our bodies, the dirt itself has these minerals in it. So when he made us from the dirt, all those minerals makes us us.
Mm-hmm.
So he put that also in the food because the food also comes from the earth.
Sir.
And so what they've done, here's my premise. Let me give my premise before we go to the video. Here's my premise. My premise is they're wanting to replace the creator
Mm-hmm. That's the
in
beast.
everything that he has created.
That's the beast.
They want, for lack of a better term, they want us to worship them.
That's
And
the.
what I mean by worship them
Mm-hmm.
is to pick their food.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we'll notice, we already have noticed if we've taken any time to really sit and think and ponder this. When you look at a box of noodles or something like that, 1 second. Sorry about that. Got a phone call. Um, if you notice when you buy some food, in particular, let's say a loaf of bread or some spaghetti or lasagna noodles or something. If you look on the back of the ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things you'll see is enriched. Basically, what they do is they remove the germ that's in that wheat. They remove that, the
Mm-hmm.
healthy stuff. They remove that because that spoils if you don't use it in the proper time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll remove that through a process. and then they will add synthetic nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it can sit on the shelves. It can leave the warehouse, get put on trucks, go to the store, and then sit on the store for forever.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that those synthetic ingredients, our bodies don't digest them.
Mm.
That's why we get fat. That's why we get all these different type of illnesses because the body cannot process the synthetic niacin, the synthetic, all these different things they put in that so that it can last longer and they can make a better profit. So if you can, stay away from anything that says enriched flour. That enriched goes through again, it goes through a process. It removes the healthy germ, the healthy thing that the Most High put in the seed or in the wheat or in whatever they're harvesting. They remove that and then they add synthetic material. So again, it's my premise, it's my position that they do this because scientifically, these different chemicals, and yes, they're using chemicals in our food. These chemicals affect our mind or affect our brain. And what they have learned to a science is what chemicals release dopamine. And if you know anything about dopamine, dopamine is a transmitter. It transmits signals to the nerve cells, it transmits signals throughout your body. And one thing about dopamine is the what they call the pleasure zone. What you find pleasurable is secreted by dopamine. So when people are addicted to drugs, dopamine. When they're addicted to salt, dopamine. When they're addicted to sugar, dopamine. When they're addicted to uh cigarettes, whatever that is, that chemical that's released that make you feel good and make you feel relaxed, that's a neurotransmitter that's sent and it gives you a pleasurable feeling. They've learned how to always keep that on by the chemicals that they put in the food. So what does that cause? That cause obesity. It cause whatever illness that comes with that. And so then what they do on the other side of that, they create a so-called remedy. They create a pill to mask the issue. They don't give you a pill to heal you. They give you pills to keep you coming back refill after refill because they understand the science behind the foods that are being created. So my premise is this is all done on purpose to keep us in a cycle of being addicted to their food, having us go to the hospital to get their medicines, to keep us on this rat wheel that we will never be healed. Any comments, my brother, before we get into this video? Any comments in the audience? If you have any comments, please hit that link button.
Yeah, what you describing, what you telling is just is naturally it's just wicked. And some that you brought up the ingredients and talked about enrichment because Sister Mary this past Bible study has said something to me that was so profound. She was talking to us after Bible study, how she looked on the back of the food and she looked at the ingredients and how the less ingredients the better. So even when you look at the simplicity of what the Father has made, and to your point, all this quote unquote enrichment, that lets me know that, you know, it's something to all these different chemicals and flavors that I can't even pronounce. Don't even know what they are. Don't even understand them, but they're part of the food that I eat. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Exactly. And it's crazy because our people for so long we've been ignorant for a lot of reasons, and then we don't understand why we stay sick. Um and I don't know if we really ever thought about, could it be the food that we're eating? Because you would think, I'm not alcoholic, I don't smoke, I don't do
Hmm.
drugs,
Hmm.
but we ever sat to think, can it be the food that I'm eating?
Yeah.
And then when we do eat the food, it makes us feel a certain type of way. But I'll
Sleep.
just throw it off.
Knocked out.
It make you sleepy. Food should not make you sleepy.
Mm.
When we eat food, it should not swell our bodies.
Mm.
Foods that are being made that we're buying in our stores, they're made out of chemicals. Again, the next time, go into your pantry and look at anything, look at your pantry. Because if it's in your pantry, you have chemicals in there. That's why you can put it in the pantry
Mm.
because it's not going to spoil. Now, think about it. If I have those ramen noodles sitting in the pantry,
Forever
what is that doing in my body?
sitting in my body.
It's sitting in my body because those chemicals that's keeping those things from not spoiling, my body don't know how to break down and use it as fuel. So it sits in my body and now it turns into fat, which then brings on these other things. But if I'm not aware of what I'm eating, and here's a crazy thing about it. Most of the time, for an example, we have Uncle Ben's rice. We have all these different types of rice, right? When you look at the rice, it will say enrich, meaning that rice grain has healthy material in it. But when they take it through the process, they remove the healthy stuff from the rice and then they put synthetic niacin. They put all these synthetic.
Stuff you can't pronounce.
Exactly.
Mm.
But and then that could be cheap for the most part. But
Like
if
you
you
said,
go and but if you go and get, say, like jasmine rice,
it's expensive.
yes, and it's in a smaller bag. Because
Hmm.
see, when you look at the ingredients on jasmine rice, the ingredient just says jasmine rice. That's it.
Mm.
That lets you know that all the healthy stuff that was created is intact. They didn't take it through any process to remove it.
Right.
But you'll find that to be usually in a smaller bag and it's more expensive. You look at anything that has the healthy material in it, typically it costs more and you get less of it. But that stuff that is fake and has been through the whole process of removing the healthy stuff and stuff added to it, it's in abundance and it's usually cheaper.
Hmm.
Pay attention to that because that's part of their, um, for lack of a better term, their witchery, their witchcraft.
You know, it's crazy. You're going this way too, because even like when you go to like fast food joints, the burgers and stuff is cheap,
Hey,
but
fast
to go,
food. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
but to get a
Mm-hmm.
salad from the same place,
Mm-hmm.
you got to pay an arm and a leg to get a salad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You let that hamburger sit, it'll
Hmm.
sit there on your counter for 3, 4, or 5 months and will not decay. The stuff is not food. But Um, in Ezekiel, I'm going to read a couple scriptures before we get to this video. Leviticus 19 and verse 19. Leviticus 19 and verse 19. This is out of the NLT. It says, keep my decrees. Do not mate different kinds of animals.
Mm.
Do not plant your field with two kinds of seed. Do not wear clothing woven of two kinds of material. Do not plant your field with two kinds of seeds. In other words, the Most High is against the splicing and mixing of seeds.
Mm.
He's against the creation of something that he did not create by taking part of this seed of this species and mixing it with something else to
Yes,
get
sir.
something else.
Mm.
This is an abomination.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
So, what does that mean for us? Almost 95% of what we eat is a mixture of something. The
Mm.
bananas we eat, those are GMOs because the real banana has seeds in it.
Mm.
Almost everything that we eat is a mixing of something. Watch this. This is Ezekiel chapter 4. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 13. This is the Most High speaking to Ezekiel. He says, the Most High said, in this one, so let me get some context. So let's start at verse 9. He says, take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt, put them in a storage jar, and you again, I'm reading out of the NOT. Storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. You are to eat it during the 390 days you lie on your side. Weigh out 20 shekels of food to each day and eat it at set times. Verse 11. Also measure out a sixth of a hin of water and drink it at a set times. Verse 12. Eat the food as you would a loaf of barley bread, bake it in the sight of the people. Listen, using human excrement for fuel. Verse 13. So the Most High want him to make this food
Mm.
using human doo doo. When you keep reading,
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel has a problem with that. So the Most High said, that's cool. You can go ahead and use animal doo doo.
Mm.
Nevertheless, he's got to use doo doo.
Doodoo.
Understand what the picture the Father's painting. Let me read this again. Verse 12. Eat the food as you would a loaf of barley bread. Now he's got to do this for 390 days. Again, this whole picture that the Most High is painting for Ezekiel,
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel was a priest. Just to give you a context of the story,
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel was a priest, and the Most High is getting ready to do some damage to the both houses. He's getting
Mm.
ready to send Israel into captivity for 390 days or 390 years, because you'll find out that these days represents a year. And
Mm-hmm.
then he's getting ready to send Judah into captivity. So he wants to do this in front of both houses. Take wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, spelt, put them in a storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. Now let me drop back down to verse 12. Eat the food as you would a loaf of barley bread, bake it in the sight of the people, using human doo-doo for food, for fuel. Verse 13. The Most High said, in this way, the people of Israel will eat defiled food among the nations where I will drive them.
Mm.
Let that sink in there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, Benya, what does
My
this say
brother.
to us? So, We say, now peep game. We say, I don't commit adultery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't lie. I don't steal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I keep the Sabbath. But guess what, Benya? Every
Me.
time I sit down to eat, I'm eating defiled food. So what am I saying? No matter how we cut it,
Mm-hmm.
it's His grace and then it's His mercy.
We missing the mark somewhere. Peter said, First Peter say, if the righteous scarcely make it in, like we scared, we're failing somewhere.
So what is this to say to us, Israel? Yes, it's okay to look at your ingredients because we do
Mm-hmm.
want to know what's in it, but don't be overly looking
Mm-hmm.
because Paul gave us a beautiful understanding.
Yeah.
Because if you do this and you eat it not in faith, you still sin.
You still sin.
So for your conscience sake,
Don't
be
ask.
careful what you look at. Because if you're going to do this, then you have to fast until you die.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to pray and ask Him to have mercy on us because we are in the land of our enemies
Mm-hmm.
and we're eating their foods until He can make a way for us to be able to grow our own food or be placed back in our land. But until then, He already know while you're in captivity,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to eat defiled foods. My sister said, "Yep, I quit looking."
Yeah.
Yeah, just understand. My premise is they're doing this because they've read that verse.
They know. Salakia, brother.
Yes, sir.
Can I, even when you look at the history of the captivities through the years, especially when the Grecian and Roman captivity came about, even all the way up into the transatlantic slave captivity, one of the things that they forced the ancestors to eat was pig.
Mm-hmm.
They would purposely make them eat and sacrifice pigs, etc. One, defiling the temple, but two, defiling our temple.
Mm-hmm.
And so they knew what they were doing from jump. And it's interesting because even when you call like the food that by Torah we're allowed to eat, the clean meats, those are the meats that they're trying to make like digital process, like the processed steak or the chicken. They're doing that to the
Mm-hmm.
chicken. Or I know when we moved down here to Texas, I think it was like one time on the news, it was like 30,000 cows got burned.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see no news where there's 30,000 pigs getting burned or anything like that, but you'll see that. And then even when you go to the store, there's an abundance of pork bacon, but you
Yes,
can't
sir.
find beef bacon readily available, and if you do, it's more expensive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Think about your bologna.
yeah,
You got your beef bologna is more expensive than the pork bologna and all this other stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And they ain't tampering with the genetics of the pork like they are the beef and the chicken,
mm-hmm.
and, or even the fish, certain fish and stuff like that. Catfish is
Mm-hmm.
readily available.
Exactly.
Yes, since they killed all them cows.
That's it. Think about this. So, Genesis 6 and 5, go back and look at it. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 29, take a look
Mm,
at that. Romans chapter 1 and verse 30, take a look at that.
mm,
And Genesis chapter 1 and verse 29, take a look at those verses. Genesis 6 and 5, Ecclesiastes 7, verse 29, Romans 1, verse 30, and Genesis chapter 1 in verse 29. That Genesis chapter 129, he tells uh, our parents,
Mm.
seed bearing uh, foods I've given you for food.
Hmm.
Seed bearing.
Seed bearing.
So the seed, think about this, the seed, everything that you need is in the seed.
Hmm.
Every nutrient that will cause you to be healthy and to grow and be strong is in the seed. Why are they purposely removing the seeds from the fruits?
Mm.
Think about this. Now you have seedless watermelon, seedless lemons. Anything that have a seed is hard to find stuff with seeds in it.
Yep.
I have to believe, coming from my paradigm, this is a direct attack on the creator.
Hmm. But now, you say your paradigm, but and I know we gonna eventually bring some of these things out, but that's always been the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. He said
Mm-hmm.
you will be like or as God. And
Mm-hmm.
so that beast mentality was there from the beginning. And
Yes, sir.
so, yeah, yeah. That's why I said, that's why I struggle when I hear you say your paradigm, because that paradigm is substantiated in scripture. The king never thought equality with the father was something to be attained. But when you go back
Mm-hmm.
to Adam, that equality with God was something they thought to be attained.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. I have a good lesson for us
You
for
know,
tomorrow.
you
Uh,
know I'm ready.
she says they don't want us to be able to have or grow natural food. Exactly.
Hmm.
They are trying to discredit absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And this is all done in a laboratory.
And one more thing, and I think I might
Absolutely.
shut
Go
up.
ahead.
I
Hmm.
think, and it's interesting because what's the last thing they're trying to create? Human
Yes,
existence.
sir. Yes,
They're
sir.
trying to monitor that. They're collecting the seed, these fertility clinics, and then they have these abortion clinics, and they take the
Hmm.
stem cells and all. They're doing that on purpose, man, because they're trying to find a
Hmm.
way to
Hmm.
recreate life. And then when the scriptures have the promise of eternal life, well, now maybe I can find a way to upload my conscience into this body, etc.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Speaking of that,
yeah.
for those that don't know or can't or didn't or doesn't remember, the last time we had a lesson on Friday night, we were talking about AI.
Oh yeah.
I came across something. I don't know where it was. I usually, when something kind of sticks out to me, I usually save it, or but I can't remember what I did with it. But I came across something where someone was talking about this AI, these, to your point, these humanoids. They not only are they trying to put conscience in them, but I heard they're working or trying or attempting to find out how to put blood and DNA.
That's wow. That's wow. Yeah.
So to your point, so this is what they're doing,
Mm.
and they're doing it to our food. They're doing it to our soil. So go check those scriptures out. I'm gonna play this video, and then we'll be out here. So again, we appreciate you all um, coming to this class. Let me stop that. Again, the premise for those that are coming in, please hit that like button. We're talking about living in our captor's land, eating defiled food, eating food where they're removing the nutrient and adding synthetic. And the problem again with that is that our bodies cannot break down those synthetic chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we stay high blood pressure. That's why we have uh, all these diverse illnesses that they know we got to go and see them
Mm-hmm.
for the so-called remedy. And then the bad thing about that is it's not created to heal you, but it's created to give you more problems. So I go for my high blood pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That medicine is side affecting me in a different area.
Yeah.
So because I take that medicine, now I got to take another pill which don't affect my liver or my
Mm-hmm.
kidney.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to take another pill because I don't want that pill for the kidney to affect something else. It's a never ending cycle.
Yeah.
Why? Because they took out the healthy stuff and then they force feed us into these bad things, knowing what it's going to do to the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a never ending cycle. 12-minute video, roughly 12-minute video. Again, the topic is on this Ozempic. I think that's how
Mm.
they pronounce it. That,
You close. I've seen the commercials.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, they're going to be discussing food as well. So again, if anyone is on that, you need to get off of that. And here we go. Let me find it.
Fair the use.
Fair use.
You thought that everything would be fine once you started taking Ozempic or Mounjaro, or you thought that everything would be
Fair
fine
use.
once you started taking Ozempic or Mounjaro or Wegovy, that the weight would just fall off. But guess what? Food manufacturers are not going to let you go that easily.
Massive food corporations are secretly creating foods that circumvent the side effects of weight loss drugs like Ozempic. Drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have the side effect of reducing hunger and cravings, and many people who take these drugs are simultaneously seeking a healthier lifestyle. Analytics find that since the launch of GLP-1
I hope y'all heard what they just said. So those of taking that Ozempic pill, again, what you have to understand, family, is they have figured out to a high percentage of how this body operates. They've studied the mind so tough. They know the pleasure zone. They know the addictiveness where these things connect in the brain. And so now they've formulated chemicals in this food, in particular, this particular uh, medication that helps to turn off I'm hungry. If you did not know, everything that you do, everything that you feel, it starts in the brain and then it goes down your spinal cord. If you understood that, if you knew that, put a 100 in the chat.
Con.
It starts in the brain and then it goes through your spinal cord through your different parts of your body. If you knew that, put a 100 in the chat. So since the way the Most High created us, everything is done in the brain, in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So they figured out how to turn this off because in our brain, forgive me, I'm not a medical person, so I don't know the terminology. I'm gonna give you the functions. But in the brain, there's a chemical that's released that tells you you're hungry. And so you go and eat. And then there's a chemical in the brain that tells you I'm full. You stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out how to turn that on and off.
Mm.
This is why they make this medicine. Think about it. When you have a headache, you pop in a Tylenol or an Advil. They know where the stuff originates in the brain. So when you take that pill, it goes into your stomach. The acids dissolve it, goes to the bloodstream, and then the blood takes that medicine all throughout your body until those chemicals attack the issue.
Mm.
So now, because people want to lose weight, here's the deception. People want to lose weight, so they pop a pill.
Mm.
People want to get off of depression. They want to, they don't want to be depressed. They pop a pill because depression happens in a part of the brain.
Mm.
So they could pop a pill and make them feel better by returning that transmitter down and turning this transmitter dopamine up. You feel better.
Mm.
So they create these issues and then put a commercial out there. If you're depressed, do such and such and such. Go get this pill. Go to your doctor. So now they're creating all these medicines because they figured out where it happens in the brain. So here they're saying because this medicine knows how to turn down your desire to eat. Now these brand companies that create these foods are now going back into the science lab and trying to figure out how they can make their foods more addicting to it can circumvent that medicine. So when
Mm.
that medicine turns your desire to eat, it wants to kind of go around the back door and make you want to eat it anyway. This is witchery. This is witchcraft. This is demonic.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
To make a person fat, they obese, they sick, to feed your bottom line, money is wicked. I hope that makes sense. My brother, anything you want to add to that before we go back to the video?
Now, my brother, perfectly stated.
All right,
Perfectly stated.
here we go. Again, fair use. Wind it back a little bit.
OV have the side effect of reducing hunger and craving. Are secretly creating foods that circumvent the side effects of weight loss drugs like Ozempic. Drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have the side effect of reducing hunger and cravings, and many people who take these drugs are simultaneously seeking a healthier lifestyle. Analytics find that since the launch of GLP-1 medications for weight loss, Americans are purchasing less food, and what they are purchasing isn't from big-name companies like General Mills or Kraft Foods, and those companies are feeling that in their bottom line. Now, this could be correlation, right? In 2023, there's a massive resurgence of clean eating trends on social media and politics, so these profit dips could be a combination of things. Either way, the food companies are not happy with this. But in response to Americans wanting to get more healthy, the snack industry isn't creating healthier alternatives. Instead, they've hired a man named Justin Shimmick to oversee the creation of products that bypass the side effects of GLP-1 medications. And by the way, Justin Shimmick is the perfect person for this PR-wise. He's a larger man and claims that he struggles with his weight too. And while he may be large, he's also incredibly rich and made food corporations millions of dollars by pushing the story. So here's what Justin's doing. We already know that food is addictive, and a lot of the junk food we eat, like Doritos, releases dopamine to our body. But GLP-1 meds regulate that dopamine release, making those foods less appealing. So scientists are trying to create foods that...
So, in other words, family, we've all experienced this. When you eat something, some of us call it comfort food. Why? Because when we eat it, it makes us feel good.
Mhm.
What's making you feel good is that dopamine. When you eat that food, those chemicals being released makes you feel good. That makes you want to go back and get more. I was telling my wife was like, my thing are sugar,
Yeah, I like my
sweet.
lemonade.
And she said, I love chocolate chip cookies. I prefer them soft, but I
Mm-hmm.
will get them hard. But I gotta have some milk so I can dip it and dunk it.
Yes,
But
Lord.
she says, just get you two of them. I said I can't because two to me is four.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do two. Why? Because the dopamine rush that I receive, it won't let me be satisfied with just two.
Yeah.
So when you think about those things that you eat, they make you feel good and make you feel relaxed.
They said.
Sometimes food be so good we get to laughing and chuckling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dopamine rush. Hope we're making sense. You want
To
to
your
say something,
point.
bro?
Yeah. To your point, they satisfy the cravings. Like there's a time. Like to your point, there'll be times when like I need a brownie and some ice cream to dip it in or some milk to dip it in. Just that combination alone, like you said, because I love chocolate chip cookie and macadamia nut cookies. Like you give me them two cookies and I'm straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I need a few of those. I get a few of those, and next thing I know, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, back to the video again. Fair use.
Circumvent the powers of Ozempic to get people addicted to their food products again. No matter your position on these weight loss drugs, I think we can all agree that this is a perfect example of corporations preying on vulnerable people who are trying to get healthy.
I'm Rosemary Hassam. I'm back again to let you know that you can take full control of your life by what you choose to put at the end of your fork. So it was all over social media and the media as well about these amazing new GLP-1 weight loss drugs. So there we had it. We had Ozempic, Wegovy, and Manjaro, and these were created. Well, initially they were supposed to be created for people with diabetes, and then when people found out about the weight loss side effects, people went insane because they couldn't get enough of it to the point where Ozempic was no longer available for people who actually needed it for their diabetes. What has happened over the course of time that people have been using these GLP-1 semaglutide medications is that people have stopped buying so much food, especially ultra processed foods, because they're now taking on a healthier journey, which is great, except for these large food corporations who are feeling it in their bottom line. So they said, all right, this is enough. We've got to do something to make sure that we're not going to be suffering because people now suddenly want to become healthy. So guess what they are doing right now? Right now, they are trying to figure out a way to block GLP-1 medications so that even if for the time being that you were on these GLP-1 medications, you started to have less cravings or no cravings for ultra processed foods. You didn't feel hungry, so you didn't have to eat as much. And there was so much less just mindless eating. This has created a void or a beginning of a void for manufacturers and large food companies. They want to make sure that you keep eating. What they're doing is they're putting together a chemical mixture that is in the food, it's not labeled, and it's on that huge list of components that make up all of ultra processed foods to keep you hooked, to keep you like an absolute addict who needs to have these foods that you thought that you'd given up. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that how quickly this has become the reality that you're not allowed to be healthy, especially in the United States. And especially if you're a Black American, forget it. They're coming for you too, because we know that Americans who are Black happen to be 50% of them are obese, not just overweight, because if we factor in overweight and obesity, then those numbers go up to 80%. 80% of all Black Americans are either overweight or obese. Now, if we look just at the obesity statistics, then we see that Black women are 60%. 60% of Black women make up the statistics for obesity. And in a lot of cases, it's morbid obesity. And that then is contrasted with Black men, where 41% of Black men are obese. Compare that with a white counterpart, and it's only 42%. So what is this saying to us about Ozempic and GL1P blocking foods? That says that your health doesn't matter. What really matters is what you provide to the supplier, which is the large food corporations. Imagine a corporation that is so greedy, pun intended, that they want you to continue to feed them while they feed you more poison, allegedly. Isn't it interesting how the pusher gets offended and has to find a way to keep their customers coming? Unbelievable. So we'll see what happens with these foods and how quickly these foods are ushered out. Ultra processed snack companies, food corporations decided that we are going to fight back from Americans wanting to be healthier. And I'm looking at you, all of you who are taking GLP-1 medications. There's nothing against what you're doing, but you just need to know the side effects. Now, let me just run through the side effects again for those who didn't hear about it before. So, of course, we've heard about stomach paralysis. We've heard about bowel perforation. We've heard about intense pain, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, depending on where in the digestive tract the food is stuck. A lot of times with these semaglutide medications, another name for GLP-1 medications, is that the food is slowed down into the stomach. So that keeps you feeling full longer, but the food is also putrefying in your stomach if it sits there too long. Yes, we know we have stomach acids in there. That works on, especially on meat and meat products. However, the slowing down of digestion does come with some risks. Now, other risks that come from semaglutide is things like eye strokes, where blindness is a factor. Did you know it's a side effect of using GLP-1 medication is blindness?
He hasn't shown them, my friends. Dr. Allen here, and today we need to talk about some concerning new research that just came out about the medication Ozempic. Ozempic, or semaglutide, is a frequently prescribed medication for patients with type 2 diabetes, but is also sometimes prescribed off-label for weight loss management. And the new research, what's concerning is that they show a heightened risk for patients developing a serious blinding eye condition called NAION. NAION is short for non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy and is essentially a form of an eye stroke. And unfortunately, when this happens, it can cause serious and permanent vision loss.
But people are still running to these medications because they're seeing the benefits. They're seeing the results and the fast results because people want quick results. People are not patient anymore, apparently. But when you see now that these side effects are causing people to have other medical issues, then it makes you wonder, what is the true benefit of these semaglutide medications? But fast forward back to the large food corporations where all they look at is the bottom line. And you've got to get back in line so that their bottom line is looking a lot better. Justin Shimek is in charge of trying to find a way to reverse the effects of Ozempic for all of these large snack food companies, corporations. So we'll see how he does with that. But the problem with all of these shenanigans is that it's not going to be labeled on your food. So you may not even know that you say, okay, maybe one day I'll just have, I'm feeling like chips. Maybe I want to grab a bag of chips. But those chips could have an ingredient in it that makes it so that you become a slave to the food once again, because you become a slave to the chemicals that are firing in your brain to make you want to have more and more and more. Some of these foods have contained so much chemicals that it increases your dopamine. The dopamine hit that you get is so high that you have to keep going back. Just like an addict, you have to keep going back again and again and again to try and get that same high that you experienced. Now, that's really not fair to the people that are really trying to work on their health and to get healthier. And when it comes to Black America, we have to do even more. We have to be more strategic, and we have to be more stringent about what we're doing to control our health and our health outcomes. Now, one thing I just wanted to leave with you, and that is for African Americans, Black Americans, remember, if you are a descendant of a slave, There's something to be said about epigenetics. And remember, the epigenetics of the foods that were good for you before our forefathers were taken from the motherland by force to be slaves in the New World. There's something to be said about the types of food that people are then being introduced to, the slaves were being introduced to, that had effects on their health. What do you think that's going to do with how people age all of the centuries later and what sorts of illnesses they're more prone to? Remember, if you have a particular way of eating and living, your body is sensitive to foreign foods and foreign ways and foreign habits. So these could all contribute to things like obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and high cholesterol. More research needs to be done on that to find out if that's in case the fact. What you can do to make sure that these corrupt food corporations allegedly are not going to sabotage your journey onto health, because your health is wealth and it's worth it. You see, there's always something that comes every single time a supposed gift comes along from the pharmaceutical companies. You'd better believe that there's going to be side effects that you're going to be paying for. So let's keep that in mind. Keep on with your healthy habits to create a better legacy for yourself and for your children and your family. What do you think? What do you think about this whole thing where food corporations are trying to outsmart Ozempic and other GLP-1 medications to keep people hooked on ultra processed foods? Comment that below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And remember that I too have a YouTube channel. It's spelled.
All right. All right. So again, we appreciate you all for spending some time with us tonight. We want to bring an awareness to pay attention to what we're eating. Understand that there is a war with the scientists that are preparing this food for us. And remember, if it's in our cabinets, in our pantries, there's chemicals. And those chemicals will not break down in our bodies properly. So keep those things in mind. Let us be more strategic and more aware of what we're eating, how often we're eating. And she mentioned about us, being slave, coming from the land and eating these foods. Just remember, we're eating foods that was not our diet, because he's right in Ezekiel chapter 4. In captivity, we will eat abominable and defiled foods. So let us pray. Let us be thankful uh, when we do eat. And let us try to minimize those things that plays a heavy role in our community's health. My brother, anything you want to add to that?
Just briefly, on the superficial standpoint, that has nothing to do with what was just said. Shout out to the sister with the afro, though. That afro was on point. I don't know if it was
Way to
real or a
go.
wig. The
Mm-hmm.
afro was on point, if
Sure
that's her
was.
natural look. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Love it.
mean, I know based on just tonight in the conversation, I'm going to commit to doing better. As far as like the food, like foods that I eat, I'm not going to sit here and search out every recipe and all that. But to your point, incorporating more the cleaner food, green foods, etc. Uh, uh, sister Mary Babby wants to put the link in it. Oh, the link to the
Absolutely.
video.
Yep, I'll do that right now, sis.
Gotcha. Yeah. But to your point, yeah, is yeah, I'm gonna commit to that. Just to do better. I'm not gonna get on the Ozempic, but it'll help my other efforts to be more cognizant of what I put in my body.
Absolutely. Momo was like, you know that food is good when you dancing.
Yes, sir. Hmm.
That's
But
facts right there.
but I think that's us.
We are, yeah, it is, but bruh, when that junk hitting just right.
That's what I'm saying. Like okay, like there's a dude. His name I think is Chime Time or something like that. That I mess with on YouTube every now and then. I follow. where he do critic. He critiques food. Now he eat a lot of scripturally unclean food. Like he's not an obese brother or anything, but he critiques food. And this dude is over in London, and he's anything that we cook over here that they cook over there, he's eating it. And he's like, they don't season their food like we season our food. So,
Hmm.
and I guess to the point of that, like I don't even know if like the way we season food as so-called black people, I wonder is that unique to our culture? Like before, we was talking about a couple years or so ago, how every sacrifice had to have salt and oil, and so like even with that, and it could be a revelation to that or whatever. But when you talk about just how we season food in general, like if you got to measure it, man, you ain't even cooking right.
That could be a melanated thing too, because I know certain cultures, like the Indian culture, they're heavy into seasonings too. So it could be a
Yeah,
melanated thing.
yeah,
Um, yeah, let's see what's so said. Preferably, we can get to the point where we don't have to eat their meat, having
hmm
our own and knowing. My absolutely.
yes, man,
'Cause
feeding.
If
Yeah,
we can raise that animal, know what that animal has eaten, man, that would be wonderful.
that's an excellent point, sister. Man,
Yeah, yeah,
no chemicals, no injections, just straight
exactly,
good feed, and yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So I hope that um, we can get something out of this class.
Hmm.
Let at the least we can be aware when I do eat my cookies to walk in discipline
Yeah,
of the spirit and stick to the two. Because if you look on each package, it gives you the serving size and it tells you what's in that serving size.
right.
Or heads up, because some people may not even know how to read these things. So
Yeah,
when you are reading the ingredients and you're reading the serving size, that serving is not for the whole.
yeah,
So for an example, if you're eating some Chips Ahoy, it will give you a serving size. And when you begin to look at the sodium, the sugar, whatever's in it, that pertains to those two cookies.
yeah.
So if you eat 4 or 5, you got to double and
You gotta,
triple.
you gotta
You gotta,
multiply
you
it.
gotta, you gotta, you gotta do some math, and some adding and stuff.
Yeah,
So when you're reading those things, again, this is for those that may not understand how to read those things. When you're drinking that soda, if it says per serving size 8 ounces, so that 46 grams of sugar is for those 8 ounces. That's not the whole bottle.
hmm,
So I just want to make sure everybody they're aware when you're reading those things is strictly for that per serving.
and
Um,
thank you for the understanding on enrichment. Like I learned something new with that tonight.
yes.
I also learned, and my wife's definitely gonna love to hear me because she get on my head. Like I would get wheat bread. Like,
Hmm.
when I go to the store, I'm gonna get wheat bread,
Hmm.
but I get the cheapest wheat bread.
Hmm. And you got
So
to be careful with that too, because
yeah,
sometimes it'll say enriched,
right.
which
What Ben?
again they take out what makes it wheat. They
Yeah.
take that out and put the synthetic in there.
So I'm looking at the fact that I got wheat bread, and my wife is like, "You didn't get the kind that I get." I'm like,
Oh,
so and I've since repented of that, but just the fact that cheaper is not always better.
right.
So I know my wife was gonna love to hear me say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'll go with the cheapest.
Yeah, some things you don't go cheap on,
Yeah,
especially with our food. I
man.
understand it can be expensive, but we can pay to be healthy. I
Yeah,
think our health is more important. So I hate spending almost $11 here for the pasteurized eggs,
man.
but yeah, but they're more healthy than. And we'll talk about eggs another day because I found out the trick and how they trick us with that too. But again,
Thank
I
you.
hope something was said
Yes, sir.
to educate us just a little more. And we gotta be careful with that organic food too, because just because it's organic don't necessarily mean it's organic. We might have to we may have to go and to revisit this again because there's a lot of tricks that they trick us in these stores. They put stuff organic and add an extra price to it, but it's not even organic.
Damn.
And we got to understand what that organic mean. But with that being said, we love you all, and again, we appreciate you all for coming to Chasers of the Way. Please visit our website.
Mhm.
Please, if you can, please join us tomorrow at 12 Central Standard Time for our day Shabbat class. We have a really wonderful lesson, and hopefully, it will be edifying about the kingdom of the Most High. So we look forward to seeing those that can make it.
Yes.
With that being said, it's best to shop for local. Yep, 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 yep,
So find a local butcher.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. That's it right there.
Mm.
Very, very wise advice right there, Sister Mary.
I know she the one that got me wondering about extra ingredients on the back of the food. I'm like, dang.
Hmm.
She said that
Yeah,
Tuesday. I was like,
we,
oh wow.
we really be so. If we really took the time to, if I can't pronounce it, if I don't know what it is, I probably shouldn't eat it. Oh, this too, and I promise to be quiet. The less ingredients, the better.
Yeah, that's what Sister Mary said. Messed me up.
The less that list is. Oh, and also, there's many different names for sugar.
Mm.
And when you look at the ingredients, the first thing that pops up is the most concentrated thing in the item.
Mm.
So if you have eight items in those ingredients, and let's say sugar, some type of name for sugar is like two or three, it's a high concentration of sugar. Stay away from that.
Mm.
There's a lot of tricks to this trade, how they camouflage. Anyway, that's another conversation. Yes, it is sugar. Yes, it is their type of sugar. Absolutely, the sugars the Most High put in his foods and his fruits. The sugar, because she said that they lied to us about fruit because they know fruit heals the body.
Mm.
The sugar that is in fruit also has fiber, which slows down the absorption of the sugar into the bloodstream. It also has the different vitamins and the nutrients that also helps to absorb the sugar. And then the sugar works totally different than that processed sugar that has no fiber, it has no nutrients. Don't let them lie to you. With that being said, oh, I love dates too. I love dates. Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. I need to pick up some. I love dates. Um, with that being said, again, we appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you can make it for a class tomorrow, we'd love to have you. With that being said, shalom.
Shalom, family.